Rikers Island has a history of violence between inmates and corrections officers, and many of those inmates suffer from mental illness. But the facility is trying to change that culture by adding special units and special training. Pix 11's Jennifer Bisram was granted exclusive access to their crisis intervention program. Take a look.
It's hell on up.
A former inmate describes his 3 years on Rikers Island. He asked that his identity be concealed.
They take more advantage of those that have mental health than somebody they feel that's not.
In for a gun charge, the former inmate says he was on medication for PTSD and deep depression. But he says his biggest battle was trying to stay alive at the hands of the officers' beatings and humiliation.
You're in the housing area, they'll throw you in one of the cells and they'll wash you down with a hose and straight butt naked and leave you there. Might be days at a time with no food.
Rikers is trying to change that culture using a crisis intervention team to foster relations between officers and inmates with mental illnesses.
It's not the officers are brutal and the inmates are all bad. This environment creates this horrific behavior. And when you deal with the mentally ill, it's worse.
Pix 11 was given exclusive access into the crisis intervention training on Rikers Island.
Back up, please. Leave me alone. All right? You can't help me, so leave me alone.
Role-playing is part of the training. This inmate, played by an actor, is cutting himself and getting agitated.
You're bleeding, Carlton. Can I
What's
see that?
What's the big smile on your face for?
I'm not smiling. How are you?
I just saw you smile.
In this scenario, inspired by real-life events at the prison, the inmate is hearing voices and suffers from schizophrenia.
Did you let him in? Yes or no?
Officers were able to de-escalate the situation without use of force. John Gallagher, deputy warden in charge of the program, told us these exercises teach officers patience.
Really look at the individual. Wow, this is why he's doing that. He's not cutting himself because he's a jerk. All behaviors have meaning.
Officer Nicola Dice says what goes on behind the prison walls can be dangerous for those in uniform too.
Because they're so scared and they're afraid and they have so much anxiety, sometimes it can cause violence.
According to the Department of Correction, of the 9,400 inmates at Rikers, 40% have some sort of mental illness.
We want to make sure that people are able to get that treatment they need and make sure the provider is safe while the inmate that's receiving the service is also safe.
Still, those who have been incarcerated on the island say much more needs to be done.
But it was situations that I thought I was going to die.
The city says so far about 2,000 officers have been trained on how to diffuse conflicts with inmates and increase safety at city jails. That includes nearly 400 correction officers on Rikers Island. Jennifer Bisram, Pix 11 News.